I welcome you all for my today's class. Today we are going to discuss on the cervical biopsy, topic of cervical biopsy. Different types of cervical biopsy will be dealing. It comes under the minor surgical procedures itself of the gynecology. So coming to the definition, so how you define cervical biopsy? Biopsy, in general, the meaning of biopsy is the removal of a small sample of tissues from the body surface or from the body for the examination under microscope to diagnose certain conditions, and it is also used as a treatment for certain diseases. So here cervical biopsy, how you will define cervical biopsy is, it is nothing but the removal of a small sample of tissue of the cervix. It is the removal of a small sample of tissues of the cervix for examination under a microscope or used for the diagnosis and the treatment of the cervical cancer and precancerous condition is called as a cervical biopsy. So what are the indications of cervical biopsy in general? Indications includes unsatisfactory colposcopic findings, inconsistent finding of colposcopy, cytology and directed biopsy, positive endocervical curettage for CIN staging, when biopsy cannot rule out invasive cancer for the carcinoma in situ, biopsy shows microinvasion, etc. The indications to go for the different types of cervical biopsy. Cervical biopsy, it is the most commonest diagnostic procedure carried out both in the hospital as well as in the office, means in the OPD setup also it is done. There are different types of biopsies. Different types of cervical biopsies includes the following: surface biopsy, punch biopsy, wedge biopsy, ring biopsy and cone biopsy. Surface biopsy, punch biopsy, wedge biopsy, ring biopsy and the cone biopsy. So these are 5 different types of cervical biopsy. So coming to each one by one. In the surface biopsy, usually we take the sample from the surface of the cervix itself. So in cases of punch biopsy, what happens? Punch biopsy is done in the outpatient department without any anesthesia. We don't need any higher anesthesia to perform this procedure. Using a Cusco's bivalve speculum, first we have to fix the cervix. Then biopsy is to be taken from the suspected area or a 4-quadrant using the punch biopsy forceps. So the punch biopsy forceps will be there. With the help of the punch biopsy forceps, you have to take the area, like from which area you want to take the biopsy you can take, or also from the 4 quadrants you can take the sample. Alternatively, the biopsy may be taken from the unstained area white when the cervix is painted with the Schiller's iodine or the colposcopic directed. If you want to perform the biopsy under the guidance of colposcopy, that means colposcopic, you can visualize the cervix with the help of a colposcope and simultaneously you can take the biopsy. So in that you use different dyes and different to paint the cervix, like Schiller's iodine, etc. And you feel aceto white surfaces after application of the solutions under the colposcopy. So from those areas which appear white or unstained, from those areas biopsies to be taken. So it is called as a punched biopsy. See, this is the aceto white a lesion after washing with the acetic acid in the colposcopy and iodine staining revealing saffron colored abnormal area. And here you can see this is a method of taking pap smear, and this is the insertion of the Cusco's double wall speculum. Here you can see the punch biopsy forceps, punch forceps you can see. Here, with the help of these punch forceps, small tissue samples are taken from the cervix and examined for diseases or other problems. So this is a punch forceps for taking punched biopsy. You can see the colposcope is used to illuminate the cervix for biopsy, and under the guidance of colposcope you can perform the biopsy with the help of a biopsy forceps to take a small sample of the cervix. Next type of biopsy is called as a wedged biopsy. Wedge biopsy, it is done when a definitely growth is visible, like necrotic area is to be avoided. An area nearer the edge is the ideal sign. Wedge means the area near the edge is to be taken. Same method here, the posterior vaginal speculum is introduced. Anterior and posterior lip of the cervix is to be held with the Alice forceps with a scalpel. You are using a scalpel here in the wedge biopsy. With a scalpel, a wedge of tissue. With a scalpel, a wedge of tissue is cut from the edge of the lesion. Suppose if you find any lesion there under the colposcope, so from the edge you are cutting a wedge of the tissue, including the adjacent healthy tissues, for comparative histological study. That means for both healthy as well as the what you say, the lesionous tissue is extracted. Like you are cutting the abnormal tissue as well as nearby healthy tissue. So here, with the help of a scalpel, a wedge of the tissue is cut from the edge of the lesion, including the adjacent healthy tissue, for comparative histological study. Then definitely the bleeding will come. So bleeding or hemostasis may be achieved by the gauze packing or by the sutures. If you need to put sutures, you can put the sutures. So this is called as a wedged biopsy. Next is about the ring biopsy. Ring biopsy, here as the name suggests, ring means the all round area. So here the whole of the scamocolumnar area of the cervix is excised with a special knife. So here we are cutting the entire like ring shape of the whole scamocolumnar junction, SC area of the cervix is excised with a special knife. Here the tissue is subjected to serial section to detect the CIN or early invasive carcinoma. This is almost replaced by the directed biopsy under the Schiller's or the colposcopy. As in this case, we are excising whole of the scamocolumnar junction. So nowadays it is not routinely done because we can directly visualize under colposcopy. So that's why we are this is replaced with the colposcopic directed biopsy nowadays. Earlier we used to do ring biopsy. The next biopsy method is called as a cone biopsy, or it is also called as a conization. Here the operation involves the removal of the cone of the cervix, which includes the entire scamocolumnar junction, stroma with the glands, and the endocervical mucous membrane. So in the cone shape, the entire SC junction, stroma, glands, endocervical mucous membrane, etc. is removed from the cervix. So this method of taking biopsy is called as a cone biopsy or conization. Now coming to the indications, conization is done as a diagnostic and the therapeutic purpose in CIN, that is staging. With the advent of colposcopy and identification of the extent of the lesion, a diagnostic conization can be effective for the therapeutic purpose as well. Cases of CIN suitable for conizations are unsatisfactory colposcopic findings, the entire margins of the lesions are not visualized, inconsistent finding of the colposcope, cytology and directed biopsy, positive endocervical curettage, when the biopsy cannot rule out the invasive cancer from the CIS or the microinvasions. So coming to the procedure is usually done with the conventional knife, also called as a cold knife cone. Currently it is being done with the help of a carbon dioxide laser used as a scalpel under the colposcopic guidance with advantages. So what are the advantages of laser over the cold knife conization? So nowadays, earlier we used to do with the help of a knife, cold knife cone it was called earlier, but nowadays it is replaced with the laser. Nowadays we are using the laser beams as a scalpel. Why the advantages of laser over cold knife conization is, it is done in the outpatient under the local anesthesia, less tissue damage, less blood loss, post-operative pain and discharge is less, regeneration of the epithelium occurs earlier 3 to 4 weeks, all types of CIN can be treated with this, and fertility and pregnancy outcomes are not affected adversely. So in this diagram you can see how the cone of the cervix is taken out, starting from the SC junction, stroma, glands and the endocervical mucous membrane. So this is called as a cone biopsy, and here we are using the knife. It can also be replaced with the laser beam. So coming to the principal steps of the cold knife conization method, the operation is done under the general anesthesia. Here we need anesthesia as we are cutting cone shape of the cervix, so anesthesia is needed. Blood loss is minimized with the prior hemostatic sutures at 3 and 9 o'clock positions on the cervix by ligating the descending cervical branches. So as the chances of bleeding will be there, so prior only you can put sutures on the 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock positions, and so that you can ligate the descending cervical branches also. Then the cone is cut as to keep the apex below the internal os. See, you can see the apex of the cone should be below the internal os. In the diagram you can see this. After the cone is removed, a margin suture is placed at the 12 o'clock position for identification of the cone. So after the removal of this cone, a margin suture is to be placed at the 12 o'clock position. Then the routine endocervical curettage above the apex of the cone is performed, and the uterine curettage is done if indicated. Cone margins are replaced by the hemostatic sutures, and the excised cervical tissue is sent for the histological examination. If the margins of the cones are involved in neoplasia, hysterectomy should be seriously considered either within 24 hours or as late as 6 weeks to avoid infections. Coming to its complication, yes, there are chances of bleeding will be there, secondary hemorrhage, cervical stenosis leading to the hematometra, as infertility, diminished cervical mucus, cervical incompetence leading to the recurrent miscarriages in future, mid-trimester abortion or the preterm labor chances will be there. So this is all about the different types of cervical biopsies. This topic is very important for your exam also. Go through it in detail. Next is about the thermal cauterization. Thermal means cauterization means burning the tissue, destroying the tissue. So here it is an operation where the eroded areas of the cervix is destroyed either by the thermal coagulation or by the red hot cauterization. Means with the help of a heat we are burning or destroying the eroded tissues of the cervix. So this procedure is called as a thermal cauterization. So here we are using thermal coagulation or the red hot cauterization method. Indications: cervical ectopy with the troublesome discharges, prior cervical smear or biopsy if necessary should be taken. Procedures: while the superficial cauterization can be done without anesthesia as an outpatient procedure, but where extensive cauterization is required, it should be done under the general anesthesia. Lower part of the cervical canal is dilated by 1 or 2 small dilators. Then the whole of the eroded area is cauterized by the cautery point, giving the linear radial strokes. You can see here with the help of a cautery, whole of the eroded area of the cervix is burned or destroyed, giving a linear radial strokes starting from inside the cervical canal to over the eroded area. Starting from inside to outside you have to perform, you have to give the linear radial strokes. The strokes should be made about 2 mm deep and a distance of 1 centimeter. You can see the strokes are 2 mm deep and the distance between the strokes is 1 centimeter. The area is smeared with the antibiotic ointment. After the performance of cauterization, the area is to be smeared with the antibiotic ointment. Then healing. It takes about 2 to 3 weeks for sloughing of the burn area. Complete epithelialization by the squamous epithelium occurs by 6 to 8 weeks. Patient information: there may be serosanguinous or even blood stain discharges for about 2 to 3 weeks. Discharges will be there. So you have to say patient that usually the discharges will be there, comes out. Then local cream application or systemic antibiotic need to be given when infection is there. So this is the thermal cauterization procedure. Next is about the cryosurgery. Cryosurgery, it is a procedure whereby the destruction of the tissues is done by freezing. Cryo means with the help of a freezing method we are using, and cryosurgery, here we are destructing the tissues, eroded tissues, with the help of a freezing. We are using the freezing or low temperature, minus temperature, to freeze and to remove the tissues. So coming to the indications of cryosurgery, indications includes cervical ectopy, benign cervical lesions such as CIN, condyloma acuminata, leukoplakia, etc. Condyloma acuminata, vulva and VIN diagnosed colposcopically and not more than 2 cm in size. VIN, condyloma acuminata, walled granulation tissue after hysterectomy, etc. And as a palliative measure to arrest bleeding in cervical cancer or large fungating recurrent vulval carcinoma. Coming to its principles, it consists of a probe, the tip of which is cooled to a temperature below freezing point, that is minus 60 degree. So here we are using a probe and the tip of it is cooled to a below the freezing point, that is to the minus 60 degree Celsius. Freezing produces, by freezing, what happens with freezing? A question arises, what is the mechanism behind the freezing? So mechanism is here cellular dehydration. Freezing produces the cellular dehydration by crystallization of the intracellular water and ultimately death of the cells. As we know, the cells are made up of mainly the water. So if you do the freezing, what happens? The water content of the cells reduces or it evaporates, you can say. Thus what happens? The cells undergo the dehydration, and because of the dehydration, cells undergo the death. This is a mechanism of freezing, and it is effective by the rapid expansion of gas which is passed through it. Carbon dioxide is widely used, while nitrous oxide and liquid nitrogen are also used. Coming to its procedure, it is an outpatient procedure. It is done without anesthesia. Commonly used techniques is freeze the freeze. A probe that adequately covers the lesion is selected. The probe tip is lightly covered with water soluble jelly to provide good thermal contact with the cervix. The approximate cryosurgery probe is applied to the appropriate cryosurgery probe is applied to the cervix, and the freezing is activated when a good ice ball extending 4 to 5 mm beyond the edge of the probe is obtained. The freezing is stopped, the probe thawed, that is to raise the temperature above the freezing point, and it is then removed. The probe which adhere to the tissue should not be pulled out until the temperature rises again. Usually 90 to 180 seconds are required to obtain a satisfactory freeze. So 90 to 180 seconds we can keep that probe, and it should not be pulled out until the temperature rises again. This is a method. If necessary, a second time freezing technique may be employed to get a good results. Application to the cervix freezes the tissues to a depth of about 3 mm. Coming to its advantages over the thermal cautery, anesthesia is not required, precise destruction of tissues, and there is no secondary hemorrhage. Secondary hemorrhage chances are less. Cervical stenosis is also less rare. Drawbacks includes excessive discharge for about 2 to 3 weeks. Healing is complete in 6 to 10 weeks. So 6 to 10 weeks it takes time for the healing. Next is a perineoplasty. Perineoplasty is a reconstruction of the narrow vaginal introitus to make it adequate for the sexual function. Indications are congenital small introitus, rigid perineal body, rigid hymenal ring, then narrow introitus following overzealous perineorrhaphy or episiotomy repair. Principal steps includes the longitudinal incision is made in the middle line from about 2 cm the fourchette to the skin of the perineum. Incision is deepened through the vaginal mucosa, skin and the perineal body. Mobilization of the vaginal mucosa and the perineal skin is done. 2 gloves are worn on the left hand. Left index finger is passed into the rectum. It is hooked upwards and outwards while the superficial perineal muscles are divided. Finally, the wound is sutured in layer transversely and by using the interrupted sutures. This is called as a repair of the, or you can say the reconstruction of the narrow vaginal introitus. This procedure is called as perineoplasty. And the next procedure is the amputation of cervix. Amputation is an operative procedure whereby a part of the lower cervix is excised. Biopsy is only a small tissue we take in the biopsy, but in amputation we are excising a complete part, like lower part of the cervix is completely excised, so that is called as amputation. So what are the indications of amputation? Indications includes congenital elongation of the cervix, chronic cervicitis with hypertrophied cervix not relieved by the conventional therapy, as a component part of the Fothergill's operation to rectify the supravaginal elongation. So guidelines includes practical guidelines like except in the congenital elongation, prior exclusion of the malignancy should be done. Means it should not be done in the malignancy cases. High amputation is to be avoided in cases where future childbirth prospect is retained. High amputation may produce a cervical incompetency. That's why it should be avoided in a woman who is desirous for the future childbirth. Amputation of cervix principal steps includes the initial steps are same as that of the cold knife cone biopsy. A circumferential incision is made around the cervix and the vaginal mucosa is separated from the stroma of the cervix. Then a cone shaped amputation is done and the cut margins are repaired with the hemostatic mattress sutures. Raw surfaces of the cervix are covered by the bony turned on sutures with a cutting needle. Complications immediate includes hemorrhage, primary and secondary, and sepsis. Remote complication includes cervical stenosis leading to hematometra, cervical incompetency leading to the mid-trimester abortion, secondary cervical dystocia during labor. So this completes the minor surgical procedures of the gynecology. Go through all the procedures. This is important for your exam point of view also. Thank you.